Hi, I'm Abba Shapiro, and welcome to Premiere Pro Shortcuts to cut your working hours. Now, in this session, we're going to explore some of the hidden gems that let you edit faster and more efficiently in Premiere Pro. We're going to look at some of the most useful keyboard shortcuts, painless and quick ways to apply audio fixes and audio mixes, match and balance color in a click, and where you can find some hidden menus and buttons that can speed up your workflow. Now, what should you expect from this session? Well, first of all, it is going to go pretty fast, but don't worry, because you'll be able to watch this session over and over. You'll also be able to download a PDF of my slide deck. Now, this session is designed for both editors that are new to Premiere Pro, as well as editors that have been using it for a while. So I will cover both some basic and some more advanced shortcuts. Now, you may know some of these tips already, but even if you walk away with just a few tips that can save you, say, 10 minutes a day, and now it's time for a little bit of math. 10 minutes a day times 5 days times 50 weeks is roughly 40 hours saved a year, and that is a week of vacation. The first place that we're going to start, and a lot of this class is going to cover, is keyboard shortcuts. Hopefully, this interface looks a little bit familiar to you. Now, I've numbered it because this is the usual workflow when you edit. You start off by putting clips into your project panel, and then you might load them up into the source monitor, and then you put them into your timeline, and you can finally view them on your program monitor. Now, the reason I've numbered these is because some of the best keyboard shortcuts actually involve 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, you may be used to clicking on these different panels to make them active, but it's a lot quicker to use a keyboard shortcut, and you need to shift your thinking to do that. A lot of editors, when they're working in Premiere Pro and they want to make one of the panels active, is you click on them. And this is fine, but it's not necessarily the fastest way to do it. As a matter of fact, if you use the Shift modifier key and use the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'll activate each of those panels. So if I hit Shift 1, my project panel is now highlighted. Shift 2 is my source panel. Shift 3 is my sequence or my timeline. And Shift 4 is going to highlight my program monitor. Now, that's great for switching between these, but this is also very useful if, for instance, you can't find the basic bin you have, your project bin. I'm going to go ahead and lose it. I'm going to click on it and accidentally close that project bin. We're going to close that panel. And now I'm editing and I can't find my project bin. Well, if I hit Shift 1, even if it's closed, it will open it up and bring it to the forefront. So that's great. So you can use it to access the panel, or even find the panel if you've lost it. Now let's jump on over to Shift 2. Shift 2 selects the source panel. And I want to show you something here in the source panel. There's a little drop down here, and we're going to look at this a little bit more detail later. But if you look at this drop down, you can see there is the clip that's loaded into my source panel. And if I loaded another clip, I'm going to load one of these DJI clips. And if I look at that same drop down, now I actually have 2 clips here that I've already loaded in. As a matter of fact, I can even lasso several clips. I'm just highlighting all these clips, and I'm going to right-click and simply say Open in Source Monitor. Now, if we look at that drop-down window, there's all of those clips. Now, the cool thing about Shift 2 is when I use it the first time, it'll select that window, but every time I click on Shift 2, it will now scroll through all of the clips that I've loaded into the source panel. Shift 3 will take you to your timeline. Now, why I really like using Shift 3 is because how many times have you gone to click on your sequence and you've actually moved the playhead to a different location? Well, if I've already queued up my playhead exactly where I want, instead of clicking on the sequence, all I have to do is hit Shift 3, and now the sequence is active and my playhead hasn't moved. And just like in the source panel, if I have multiple sequences open, Shift 3 will cycle me between them. Let's go ahead and open up a couple more sequences. Now I have 3 sequences open. Every time I hit Shift 3, it'll switch me between each of those sequences. And of course, Shift 4 will highlight my program monitor. Shift 5 will load the effects panel. And when you select on a clip, you can easily modify any effects that you've applied to that clip. And if you're looking for effects, which we do a lot, Shift 7 will take you to the effects panel. And you can very easily now type in the name of the effect you're looking for, click on it, and apply it to your clips. We can now step through our presentation. As you can see, can't find your project, Shift 1, need to activate the source monitor, Shift 2, select the project panel, Shift 3, and you'll never accidentally move that playhead again. And another thing is you can switch through multiple open timelines. Shift 4, the program monitor. Shift 5, open effects controls. Shift 7 opens the effects tab. And remember that power tip using Shift 2 is you can toggle through the clips loaded into your source monitor. Now, there's two keys I want to talk about. Actually, it's the same key, but we're going to modify it. And that's the accent grave key. Now, if we're in Premiere, one of the things you can do is if you're hovering over any one of your panels and you press the accent grave key, that's in the upper left-hand corner of your keyboard, whatever window your mouse is hovering over will become full screen. And this is awesome in cases of maybe you're going to the media browser and you're trying to find clips, or you have so many clips inside your project that you want to be able to see them full screen, especially if you don't have a lot of screen real estate. So the tilde key or the accent grave key, same key, will make the panel go full screen, and you click it again and it goes back to the normal layout. There's another modification to that that's really cool. If instead of hitting just the accent grave key, if you hit the control key first, what it will do, it will bring your program monitor full screen, which is great for playback. Now, in the new UI that's in beta right now, there's going to be a button for that. But if you're still using the legacy version of Premiere Pro and you want to be able to go full screen, remember, Control tilde or Control accent grave will bring it full screen, and you can simply hit play and show it to your clients. So that's what the accent grave looks like, and this is the control key with accent grave, complete full screen video. Now I want to talk about some transport shortcuts. When you're navigating a clip or your timeline, use the JKL key. The J key will play a clip backwards, the K will pause, and the L will play forwards. And there's some modifiers you can do to this. I'm going to show you this in the presentation, and then we'll jump over into Premiere and I will show you them in practice. So in addition to J, K, and L, if you multi-tap the L key, you'll go fast forward. If you multi-tap the J key, it's fast rewind. The K key is a modifier, so if you hold that down and then either tap J or L, you can go forward one frame at a time, or holding down the K and the L will go forward in slow motion, and the J and K backwards slow motion. The spacebar, of course, will also play forward, and I like to use that. Sometimes I'll use J, K, and L with my middle fingers and the spacebar with my thumb. Another thing that's really useful is to go backwards and forwards one frame at a time. That's the left arrow key and the right arrow key. Let's go ahead and jump back into Premiere and I'll show you this in play. I'm going to press the L key, it'll play forwards. If I hit the J key, it'll play backwards. If I do multiple taps of either the J or L, I'm going to rewind fast. I'm going to do 3 taps of the J key. And I can actually scrub through at high speed using those keyboard shortcuts. With the K modifier, if I hold that down and tap, say, L, I'll move forward a frame at a time. Or if I hold down K and hold down L, I'm going to move forward in slow motion. And of course, K and J will move backwards in slow motion. And then, of course, if you're looking to have very precise editing, the left and right arrow keys on your keyboard will move you forward one frame at a time. Here are a few more navigation shortcuts that are really useful. The home key will take you to the beginning of your sequence or your clip, and the end key will, of course, take you to the end of the clip or the end of your sequence. Now, if you're working on a keyboard, say on a laptop, or you don't have a full-size keyboard on your desktop, and you don't have a home and an end key, then you can use the function key and the left arrow to go home, and the function key and the right arrow to go to the end of the clip. The up arrow is going to take you to the previous edit on your timeline, and the down arrow is going to take you to the following edit on your timeline. Now you'll notice there's an asterisk there, and that's because it will only go to the targeted tracks. Now when we jump back into Premiere Pro, I'll show you how that works, but these are really useful to go back and forth to edit points, and you need to actually activate the track. There's a great little modifier that if you hold down the Shift key when using the up and down arrows, then your playhead will jump to every single edit point in your sequence, whether the track is targeted or not. Let me show you that inside of Premiere. So here we are in Premiere, and as you can see, I'm going to go up and down arrow, and it's jumping to most of the edit points, but as I get on towards the end, I'm using just the down arrow. You see, it didn't stop at any of the edit points on that second track. And that's because these aren't active. As a matter of fact, if I turn these on, now using the up and down arrows, the clip will stop at every edit point that's active. So this is really useful if you want to be able to get everywhere on your sequence to all the edit points. But sometimes you just want to jump to an edit point, but you don't want to actually turn on that track targeting. And that's where the Shift key comes into play. So the Shift key is held down, and I use the up and down arrow. And as you can see, as I get to those last edits at the end of my sequence, it is still stopping at all of those edit points. So up and down arrows go to the previous and subsequent edit points. And if it's not stopping on all of them because your track targeting is not turned on for, say, the upper tracks, just hold down the Shift key and you'll be able to stop at every edit point. Now, let's add some marking shortcuts. So of course, I and O can mark an in and out point on a clip before you bring it into your sequence, or you can mark an in and out point on your sequence if you want to apply, say, a title to a certain area, or maybe do an overwrite on a certain clip. Now, if you want to actually go to the in point or the out point very quickly, that's where the Shift key comes into play. That Shift key is pretty darn useful. So Shift I will go to the in point on a clip if it's in your source monitor, or to the in point on your timeline if that is selected. And of course, Shift O goes to the out point. Now, a lot of people wonder how can they easily clear in and out points. Now, Control Shift I removes the in point, Control Shift O removes the out point, Control Shift X will remove both the in and out points simultaneously in Windows, and on a Mac that's Option I, Option O, or Option X. I'm going to simply hit the I key, put an in point at wherever my playhead was, click over here, hit the O key, that's my out point. And remember, now if I want to shift to my in point, Shift I, Shift O will jump to my out point. If I want to remove an in point or an out point, I can simply hold down the Option key on a Mac. If I hit I, you see it's gone. I'm going to go ahead and hit undo. That's Control Z on Windows, or Command Z or Command Z on a Mac to undo. Important keyboard shortcut to know. But if I want to remove both the in and out point with one stroke, it's simply Option X on a Mac or Control Shift X on a Windows machine. We're not done with shortcuts yet. I want to talk about some timeline shortcuts. And remember, these are a lot of shortcuts that I'm showing you. It's a fire hose of information, but remember, you'll get a copy of the PDF and you can watch this video over and over again. So I want to get as many tips in here as I can. And the next one involves the plus and the minus key. This lets you zoom in and zoom out on your timeline. And these are very useful. Also the backslash key. That allows you to toggle between whatever zoom level you have on your sequence to seeing the entire sequence. Hit that backslash key again, and you'll go back to the original framing of the clips that you had in your sequence. Z for the zoom key and H for the hand key. Very useful keyboard shortcuts. Learn them instead of looking at your tool set and trying to click on them. And I'm going to show you how the zoom key is actually a lot more powerful than you think it is. And then this is just a little side thing. Sometimes it drives you nuts, it drives me nuts, as I'm scrubbing through a clip to hear that audio, especially if I'm not working audio. So Shift S will simply turn off audio scrubbing for when you don't care about the audio and you're just trying to look at the video and do some work. So the plus and minus key, I'm going to make sure that my sequence is selected. So I'm going to hit Shift 3. We learned that earlier. And now if I hit the plus key, you see I'm zooming into more detail on my timeline. The minus key, I'm zooming out. Now I'd also mention the backslash key. So I'm a little bit zoomed in, but I kind of want to see where I am in my timeline, and maybe I want to make sure that I don't have anything way downstream in my timeline. So that's where the backslash key comes into play. Click it once, it toggles to show you your entire sequence, and then you can click it again to go back to the exact zoom level that you were at before. And speaking of zoom, so I'm going to zoom out right now. I'm going to use the backslash key, and then I'm going to hit Z, and this is going to change my cursor to the zoom key. And a lot of people go, oh, it's the zoom key, and I can click on it and zoom in. That's fine, but that's not where its power lies. Let me zoom out again. With the zoom key, I can actually drag and select a section of my sequence, and I'm just lassoing it, and then when I let go, it zooms in precisely to that section. So it gives you a lot of control. And the H key for hand is also very useful because it allows you to go and scrub through your timeline if you want without having to go down here and drag or having to fast forward. You can easily go to the exact point that you want. You thought we were done with shortcuts, but we're not. Let's look at track height shortcuts. Again, we're going to use those same plus and minus keys, but this time we're going to use different modifiers. My favorite of this group is holding down the Shift key. It will toggle me between two default heights. Shift minus will always go to this default height, but these two heights are very, very useful, especially if you have a lot of tracks in your sequence. Now let's look at some trimming shortcuts. Q and W, I'm going to show in a moment. These are probably my two favorite keyboard shortcuts for trimming. We're going to look at the Extend Edit, E, easy to remember, and D for selecting a clip. So if I'm going through here and I have these clips on my timeline and I don't like this beginning of this clip, instead of going in and switching to the Cut tool, cutting it, selecting it, deleting it, closing the gap, if I move my playhead exactly where I want that clip to start and hit the Q key, it will trim everything off to the left of where the playhead is. So everything at the head of that clip, and it will do a ripple delete, so everything will slide down. Very quick way if you want to throw a lot of clips in your timeline and then tighten them up. So if I go down here and I say, okay, at this point, I've proven that it's been raining. I don't need the rest of the right side of this clip. That's where the W key comes in. So Q cuts off the head of the clip where the playhead is. W will do the tail. And as you can see, I can easily do that and go through this clip, picking all my key points, just Q and W, and trim this down exactly where I want. The E key is for an extend edit. So let's say that instead of having the cut point there, I want the cut point to be right here. When I hit the E key for extend edit, it will move that edit to where my playhead is, adding media to the end of the first clip and removing media from the beginning of the subsequent clip. The D key will select any clip that your playhead is parked over. So if I'm parked over this clip here and I want to select it without actually having to click on it, I can hit the D key and select the clip that is below the playhead. Now, we've touched on a lot of keyboard shortcuts, but you can discover a lot more and you can make your own in the keyboard shortcut drop-down menu. Now, the nice thing is there's even a keyboard shortcut to open keyboard shortcuts. So if you're on Windows, Control-Alt-K, on a Mac, Command-Option-K will open the keyboard shortcut menu. Now, wrenches in the hamburger menu. Now, this is a noisy slide, but I wanted you to be able to just look at a freeze frame of this when you watch it or look at the deck and actually see and learn how to do this. But the key here is that throughout the interface, there's little wrenches that you can click on and also little stacks of 3 lines. And when you click on those, just like the context sensitive menus, when you right click on a clip or on your source panel or program monitor, this will also reveal other things that you can do in Premiere Pro. And this is really valuable because in some cases, this may be the only place that you can make some of these changes. Now we're going to explore the Essential Sound panel because it's really easy to fix and mix audio. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our clips in our sequence, and we're going to identify whether they're dialogue or music or sound effects or ambience. And once we do that, we get a lot of powerful tools to quickly correct the audio, and you don't have to be a sound engineer to sometimes fix problems that you have that you can fix with a single click. I'm going to switch my layout to the audio layout, which opens up the Essential Sound panel, and I'm going to open up one of our sequences, and what I need to do is I need to identify to Premiere what these different clips are, because that's where the power comes. I can do it one clip at a time, or I can select multiple clips. I know for a fact these are all the interview clips, so I'm going to select them, and I'm going to tell Premiere that these are dialogue. And as soon as I say they're dialogue, I get all these quick fix options. Let me step back and now select this audio here. This is the piano, so it's actually music, and I'm going to click here and switch that to music. And you'll see there's different options available. Now the nice thing is once you've made these selections, if I click on any of the dialogue clips, I have options here to very quickly change things. The first thing I might do is just click on Repair and Reduce Noise, and I can play this and I can move this slider left or right, and I can remove more and more noise by moving it to the right. But you have to be careful, because if you do it too much, you're going to get that underwater effect. So this is really useful. But these are the key things that you can fix that usually are problems with your sound when you're doing an interview. Reducing noise, reducing rumble, the really low end stuff, and dialing that in. You also might want to do humming from electrical interference. You can do this across multiple clips, and you can also copy and paste these effects from one audio clip to another audio clip. The second thing is using music, and one of the things that we often need to do is duck music under when people are talking, and that requires a lot of keyframing. This will save you from all of that. Let me go ahead and make my audio tracks bigger. I'm going to hit Shift plus, so now we can see those a little better. And I want to be able to mix this audio against the interview. So with music selected, you'll notice that one of my options here is ducking. Now I can do other fixes to the music. I can make it louder, I can make it softer, I can change how the balance is, but what I want to do is I want it just to duck under whenever she starts speaking. So I'm going to select that and click to turn it on. Now, if for some reason you don't see it, you click it and you don't see things, just go ahead and click to the left of the little check mark, because that disclosure area may be closed. And it's very frustrating. You're like, why don't I see it? And that happens to me a lot because I've accidentally clicked and closed that. Now, once you do that, you can select exactly where you want the music to duck against. You can have it duck against, in this case, just dialogue. But if I've labeled things as ambience or special effects, I can have it duck against that. I just want to duck my music against the dialogue, so I have to make sure it's selected. And then I'm going to choose how sensitive it is for listening for that, how much it's going to duck. I want it to duck a lot. Okay, and how quickly I want that ducking to happen, how quickly I want the music to get softer and come back. And once I've made all of these settings the way I like them, you click on Generate Keyframes and take a look at the audio track of the clip in my timeline, and you'll see keyframes magically appearing. That's pretty cool. And if I need to change something, maybe it's not ducking low enough, I just go ahead and adjust my settings and click on Generate Keyframes again, and now it's actually ducking it even further. So you can see here it's ducking it a lot more, and I can go back in and modify this. The other thing that's really cool is, let's say I've done this edit, but then I move this soundbite over here, and now I have to go back and do this all over again. Well, all that hard work is not gone to waste, because all I again have to do, select the clip and just regenerate the keyframes. Here in this slide, I've detailed exactly what I just did. So if you didn't remember what I did, or it happened a little bit too quick, there's all the steps that you need to do. Let's look at color. Now when we're working with color, we're going to use the Lumetri color panel to match shots. We're going to reveal a certain area, the color wheels, and match, and then we're going to turn on comparison view. Here we have two clips, and you'll notice one thing, that in the wide shot it's a little bluer than here, it's a little redder, and I want them to match. We're in the essential sound panel, so I want to switch over to the color setup, and that's going to open up the Lumetri color panel as well as my scopes. What I really want to do is match this clip with this clip. So to do that, I'm going to go down here to color wheels and match. Open that up, and what I want to do is switch over to comparison view. And when I do that, it actually creates this side-by-side image. On the right side is wherever my playhead is parked, okay? So this is the clip that I want to change. So this clip is good. This clip is the one that's a little bit off. So I park my playhead over the clip that I want to change. And then I have a little slider here, this little blue dot, and I can actually scrub through my entire show and try to match this shot where my playhead is parked to any other shot in my sequence. So I want it in this case to match the close-up. So I just hover it over there and click on Apply Match. Now you'll notice there's a little checkbox here that says Face Detection. And what that does is it prioritizes the color matching to skin tone. So in this case I want it on, but if it was just one landscape to another landscape, I don't need that turned on. We'll leave it on for now, and I'm going to click on Apply Match, and you'll see the color will change on the clip on the right, and that's the clip where my playhead is parked. And immediately it warmed this up. And if I wanted to see what these look like without them off, I'm going to switch out of our comparison view. This clip that I color corrected matches really nicely to this clip. I'll turn the Lumetri color filter off. There's the before, there's the after. Very easy to do. Well, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining me in Premiere Pro Shortcuts to cut your working hours. My name is Abba Shapiro. Enjoy the rest of Max.